Hello and welcome to the sixth and final conversation in MISC Art Institute's virtual talk series. Over the past 6 months, we've spoken with artists, gallerists, curators, educators, and leading industry experts in the field of contemporary art. My name is Oliver Farrell. I'm the Education Program Manager at MISC Art Institute, and I'm your host for this talk. Today's session will be recorded and will be uploaded to the MISC Art Institute YouTube account, so you can head to the virtual talk series channel and see all of our previous lectures there. What is contemporary art? Our speaker today is Ahmad Mater, a pioneer of the contemporary art scene in Saudi Arabia. Formerly trained as a medical doctor in general practice, his visual art training came through short classes in the art village of Al-Meftaha in Abha, the Asir province. Beginning as an artist who straddled the science career and the creative career, his work began to gain international attraction. Making a choice to leap into a full-time career as an artist, Ahmad Mater has gone from strength to strength. Founder of the Fadan Studio in Jeddah and the Ahmad Mater Studio in Jaks district outside of Riyadh, Mater's practice has also grown into mentorship and active arts engagement. Viewers of today's talk are encouraged to ask questions throughout, and you can ask your questions by posting them in the chat, and we will find some time towards the end to answer as many of these questions as possible. I would now like to welcome our guest for today, Dr. Ahmad Mater. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for your intro, and thanks for MISC Art Institution, which is really close to my heart. I was there in the beginning, so thank you for the MISC Art team to their engagement and helping and making this art scene really flourish and became one of the nicest and energetic art scene.
Well, thank you for being such a strong part of MISC as well. So I think I'd probably like to start us off with the question, what is contemporary art for you?
So that's the question usually. What is contemporary?
That's the question.
Yeah, there is a lot of definition, and the most famous definition that go with the contemporary art is the academic definition that divided the differentiation between modernism and contemporary art. Let's go now in another trial of definition. This, I think, with the contemporary art, it's create another platform where the recognition of artists and artwork became more engaged with the now, with the time, with the now. So usually in the past, there are a lot of artists discover after ages or after a time, and what they write or paint or sculpt or something that really come through, a lot of long time on the experimentation. Maybe now contemporary art is more exposed to the society, to the people, to the engagement, to criticism. And I think this has shaped something that we called it now contemporary art. In the future, maybe it will have another name, because contemporaries mean now, but in the future, the historian and the writer and the academic of art maybe will find an alternative name. But the amazing or the positive side of contemporary art is the art and the engagement is now, is the time, what we have. The living. So art become a part of our life.
Do you think that this is something that's really important for all artists to always keep in mind in their practice, is to the engagement, that it has to be engaged with what's happening around them?
Of course. Now you can see art, it has to go out from the walls, from the enclosed doors and go to the life. We believe now in the art as a vibrant and with all of this new, we live in the technology time, we live in the data, we live in the future. So I think art can be a big part of engaging with the society. Art can be a big part of creating the identity of all of the type of culture and diversity. This is very important. I think that's our time now, and it's really amazing opportunity that art can be, something that we hear and we see it and we engage with it and now rather than go to the history. So it's about art becoming a living part of so museum go outside. So rather than we go to museum will be part of our life. And that's why everyone in the new future or the people who study the future of museums or something believe the museum could go and be a public art space that people engaged.
Mm. Do you feel like this is also quite reflective of the time in Saudi as well, the way that contemporary art has been promoted within the kingdom, but also the way that new arts institutions are being built, you know, that there is a real push for engagement?
I think, yes, what you said is very important because I think it's a new, for me or for my knowledge around the world, it's a new phenomena where the big energetic art scene that really grassroots come from down up, and you can see it in a lot of artists and youth in Saudi Arabia, whereas the country and its average of population is a young, it's between 25 until 30, which is really a promising scene for culture and art, and of course all of other things like economy and many scale of community engagement. But art and culture in this time is really became one thing that the grassroots will need the support from top down. And I think here is the amazing things, because even any grassroots, imagine we build a garden, what we need is the right time to take care of these plants of this grassroots, then it will flourish like a fantastic art scene. So I think this is what I explain it like this: the grassroots that really happy and engaged within big support from top down, and that's really amazing phenomena that's promising a lot for future.
So let's talk about your grassroots then. As a young person coming from the Asir province in Saudi, what was sort of your impetus to go into arts training or to try and, engage with the arts?
I usually said something even before the art training. I said, or I just try to think about it, how when I think about the practice that I went through. Nature, I live in nature and Asir, and nature was the first teacher of artist or any art scene. This is like was big for me, and it's create a memory and beautiful understanding for art values. After that, I was very connected to the old painting and the mural of house of Asir region and the villages in Asir. My mother was one of those painters who paint the old houses, and this is called al-qat. Al-qat is the practices of decorating the internal houses in Asir. So that was the first exposed for me to the color and to the idea of contrast in the color, idea of the building a harmony, symbolism in the wall. So all of this is kind of education. So that's as the first start of exposing to the art and life.
And speaking of that it's a real particular style of painting you're talking about there, the al-qat mural painting on the buildings. And do you feel like that particular artistic style has influenced your practice over the years?
Maybe because it's refer a lot to symbolic work. So each triangle, each shape, and those al-qat, it has a meaning. Art do the same. Usually artist has another language, but this language is the language that doesn't need translation. It can be the code between the audience and the artist himself. So this was part also influence a lot on my art work. Then it creates a kind of identity for each artist there.
Yeah. So you've got, I suppose, a symbolic artistic surrounding growing up within the Asir province. But you do a really formalized training in the sciences in medicine. What was it for you that really pushed you to move away from continuing to practice in medicine?
I think with that time, I will divide it to two directions: the informal education that I take in Al-Muftaha Art Village, and the formal practices and education that I go to the medicine. When I graduated from secondary school, there was difficult to study art. There is no college of art, and I can be part of. Also, we are from the families that our parents will advise us to go. You have to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer or architect. So that's the 3 stars and our time. So that was one of the direction that I went to. I love medicine. I learn a lot from medicine. I usually tell myself, without the medicine and the way of research, it creates inside me the idea of art as a research. It creates inside me a lot of good drawing, because we were study anatomy at that time. So anatomy, you have to make things and draw the art also. So I mean, there was very beautiful things in the medicine, especially when I learned after years that the medicine is something stand between subjectivity and objectivity. It's not only science, it's a common sense. So you have to feel, you have to talk to the people, you have to listen to the patients. So that's was very, very important things. In the same time, at that time in Abha, in South, in Asir region, I had very big chance that I joined Al-Muftaha Art Village. Al-Muftaha Art Village is a place in Asir region, where in Abha city, where the very beautiful building, built in the style of the old Asiri house. And it was like artist studio, small library, a small theater, which is now they built after that to be a big theater, really. And this initiative was, supported and started with the Prince Khalid Al Faisal at that time. This is create a lot of source of information and education for the artists that really looking to improve their skills and know more. And and I remember in the summertime, there was a lot of great teachers come from all of the Arab world and internationally as well, to teach us the basics, like a perspective, like drawing using a pencil, shadow and light, photography as a and its basic level. All of this create a lot of seeds for a future.
Well, it sounds really multidisciplinary. Was there any particular medium or any particular discipline that you were attracted to specifically during this time?
In the beginning, yes, it was drawing and painting using oil paint and acrylic. It was the beginning, and I remember that I was really like to do a perspective and find the idea of building and how I draw, because it's fantastic when you draw using the perspective and go to the reality. Then after that, you use the pencil, then make it more and more. All of these basics, that's like for us, when you draw like a real good painting or good sketch, then that's a fantastic art. That was the beginning. It created a lot of education in the beginning for us. So that was, I remember that I was in the Al-Muftaha Art Village. They give you a small studio with 2 floors, 1 room and 1 room, just small. In the first floor, I put all of my painting, sketches, some artwork in the wall. And the second floor, where like it's the artist studio to sleep, it's full of the book and a lot of anatomy, like a Gray's Anatomy sketches. So it was duality in the life there.
Yeah. And at this time, did you ever consider just not doing the medicine and just going straight into the arts?
It's like in anyone, you have to follow your dream. That's what we all passionate about, but sometimes it's not easy. I really, from the beginning, there was one vision for my life, which is one word: art. But how to get there? It's all of this come through my story, my journey. So it was things, and I tried to, like to focus on art as much as I can, but I need a job. I need to continue my career as well. So it was a duality.
Yeah. So what for you was the first big break? What was the first point where you really took the next step in your career?
I remember maybe when my artwork during the last years in the medicine, I think this six, medicine 7 years that we study. When I was in the 6th year, I think it was 2004 or 5, that British Museum acquired one of my artwork in the exhibition called Word into Art. Then it became for me a clue for I have to focus. I have to think about it seriously more and more. And it was for me the first time that I traveled and just to be part of a show in the British Museum. That was really, really amazing. And the crazy thing, this artwork was X-ray. So it's come from the practice and from my life, but it was between X-ray, calligraphy, drawing, and mixed media. So something really come from a journey from inside.
Yeah. And I feel like in many ways your practice over the years has been, you've gone into so many different areas in your practice. And so it's really nice to hear you now talk about this sort of, the influences of your life has really shaped what works you're creating. So after your period with medicine and your first showing at the British Museum, where are you in the world? Where are you? Are you still in Abha at this time?
Yes, I'm still in Abha. When I graduated from medicine, I worked in Abha for 2 years as a medical doctor. And I was practicing art in Al-Muftaha in the spare time. Even the weekend, I love to go and do new artwork. When I have a spare time, I give myself like 2 or 3 hours every day, just to at least to read something about art. I was very connected at that time. The idea of forum, an internet forum, a lot. So I participate in all of the forum and read all of this article and see all of this exhibition and around the world. So it was a window as well for me to follow up. Imagine some, like one guy in Abha in the mountain trying to see all of the exhibition around the world from a small window.
Amazing. So at this time, I would like to kind of get a better sense of how Saudi was in terms of the art scene. What galleries were around, or what exhibitions were sort of happening within Saudi at this time?
There was, by the way, I remember some galleries and some artists were good and influence of us. I remember there was an art scene in Jeddah. Of course, not like now. It was not on the same level and the same, energetic feeling. Also in Riyadh, I remember some friends and artists, and there was a good art scene, but maybe the expose this art scene, the connection, the engagement was missing in a big time, because for many reasons. Art education was very important things, and it wasn't in that level that enough at that time. So all of those things make a big, like limitation at that time.
And so after your period in Abha, where do you head?
I decide to do a photography project about Mecca. And that's happened after I do the magnetism first piece. Then I say I want to do a documentation. I like the art as a research practice. I usually, on all of my artwork, there is a research behind any piece. So then I decided to go to Mecca and start 1 year to do a book, exhibition, and video art about Mecca as a memory of life. It's like Mecca is a must visited place on the earth, must exclusive in same time. Mecca is the a place that has an spirituality, which is, I believe, big in art as well. Art has to have this poetic, real, spiritual feeling. So from that, I traveled there, and from 1 year, it became 6 years.
Whoa.
I moved there, moved my job. And between Abha and Jeddah, there was a 6 month in Medina. Also, where I do a lot of nice artwork and a lot of documentation. Then I decided after Medina to move to Jeddah, and that's what make it 6 years after that, because I engaged a lot in the art and community there. My job was there as a doctor, so it went very well. Then just after a few years in Jeddah, I quit. I quit gradually from the medicine because it became more establishment as a career. Yeah.
Culturally, coming from the Asir province and from the city of Abha, I'm going to the Hijazi region there in around Mecca and Medina and Jeddah. How was it?
I think it was very important, and that's what it's look like for me, the residency. When we believe in art residency, give artists a lot of inspiration. For me, the residency was the journey itself. Because when you open your eye to a new culture, a new intellectual, a new community, this is very important. And this, I think, what is important for art and culture. I opened my eye to more diverse interests around art and culture. Then this became really, really give me more confident, more vibrant, and my voice became more from local to a little bit in a wider range. Yeah.
Do you feel like there were particular cultural topics, or that there were particular aspects of the Hijazi province that kept you there for 6 years? I mean, the project on Mecca is specific, which is perhaps also a global phenomenon, because it is every Muslim's sort of journey to
I think for Mecca and Medina and Jeddah, it was for me rich, because you are right about Hajj as a concept of people traveling from all around the world and come to did one dream in their life, which is to go to Mecca once a life. It's a big emotional contact with the people. So for me, that was very interesting to record, to capture this journey in a big time. And doesn't mean just for this, but for how people will follow their emotional dream and create all of this, without any benefit. It's just by beliefs and by spirituality. That's for me was very interesting. And also in Jeddah, Mecca, Medina, the idea of there was beautiful music. I meet a lot of friends, and we create a lot of talks. Like salon, artist salon, all of this was a nice. So I exposed to more diverse culture. I meet people from around the world, a lot of curator, museum coming to Jeddah at that time. So it was for me kind of growth inside my practice, but also from the society around me.
Yeah. You mentioned, when you arrive in Jeddah, there's already an art scene that's sort of happening there, but you actually established a studio there, Fadan Studio.
Yes.
Could you talk to us a little bit about what the impetus was for Fadan, or what you wanted to do with Fadan Studio?
It started like a personal studio. It was a small villa in Jeddah, and this small villa became one by one as a cultural nice habits, like underground art scene where people can do mistakes on their practices of art, of performance, of showing short films, of just sometimes we sit in the salon and we talk about a friend who tried to write a novel, but he need to listen from us about something, or this is small engagement with the artists, intellectuals, all friends around us. It's create really beautiful art scene. And I think art is big when it's about engagement, when it's about tolerance, when it's about vibrance. So that's what I remember, and I feel that week. It was a small place, but it was very active, very nice.
Mm. And in some ways, Fadan Studio has become a bit of a blueprint for what you have created now in just outside the Riyadh in the Jaks district,
Yeah.
the Ahmad Mater studio. So talk to us a little bit about your current space where you are now.
Yeah, now I am in my new studio in Jaks in Diriyah in Riyadh. So it's became more. It's really what I like. I love what you said about the blueprint. It's really exactly same, but with more bigger. So here in the studio, I have like a library that we created here in the studio with my team in the studio. This library is focused on art and culture and urbanism and architect, lots of interest of Arab and Saudi literature. So this library became like an atrium for us, and there's a small space in the studio within a lot of facilities of print, using etching, lithographs, all type of print and digital print as well, plus small lab for photography and dark room. So all of this small things was enough to create a nice, vibrant studio. And I decide when I see it like a really communal and very active, to make an open hours like from the morning time in the library for people, or people can contact us if they need to use the library or dark room, and we cooperate with everyone, because it's a collaborative effort. So that's the concept of the studio, rather than close the door and artists became the inside a factory. No, let's make this studio as a cultural communal space that people can meet and can share idea and knowledge.
Yeah. It's interesting that your practice in that way, though, in some ways is reflective of general practice, being a doctor. You open up the office and you have people drop in all day through.
Actually, there was a part that I study after graduating to be a specialist. It's called community medicine. I learned a lot from the community medicine, that how we feel as a public body together. And I think art and cultural is a big things and making more vibrant and nice environment of engagement. So it's for me something come from here and there together.
Do you feel that there's something healing about community engagement in arts and culture?
Of course, for a community, art and culture is a big, or if we ask ourselves why culture, culture is a big source of sharing knowledge, of improving the community engagement. Art is one of the biggest part in the well-being in our society. So art and healing became one of the most important programs around the world, especially after COVID now, because we need to be back to the life, but art can create this kind of engagement in the public space, networking, tolerances. Was very important. Art also is nice and important in the science and technology. It gives us all of this kind of confidence, of empowerment of project that we did. Communication, understanding diversity, and understanding how our voices should be a global voice. It's bring us back to be a global citizen, which is the main.
This is interesting, this idea of the global voice, and trying to find one's place in an artistic scene which is globalized,
Yes.
especially post-COVID. We really have sort of stepped back into a very globalized art scene, and you see that Venice Biennale is back up and running, and you've got Art Dubai, and you have all of the former big global arts events still happening. But coming to a local scene within Saudi Arabia, do you feel that there's a Saudi style at this point in time, or that there's a Saudi, a particular Saudi style of the arts?
I like this question, because it will be the question after all of that, when the art became the voice. I think usually I say something as a basic for this, which is, let's think globally and act locally. So it's about diversity. So it's really about thinking globally, but act locally. And that's why I explain it like that. If I have a culture and I'm an artist, represent my context and society and life and our values and all of this interesting things, that is the real local scene. And what about if this voice became, or thinking globally, how to explain it globally? And this is what's beautiful about diversity in culture and understanding each other and engagement and idea of communication, idea of the diversity. It's like one famous poem. Sorry, I didn't remember the name, but it goes, as much as you work locally, as much as your voice became globally. Because it's very more, isolated identity, which look like me, look like you, look like the artist himself. So a voice could become the real identity. So this is a big things in our time now of culture and art.
Yeah. Look, it's also quite interesting, because when you describe your history of your career, I asked you the question, what was sort of a turning point for you in your career? And you said, when the British Museum acquired one of my works. I mean, and for most artists, that would be the pinnacle of their career much further down the track. They might have been working towards that for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years to have an acquisition from a large international institution. So I'm interested, as a Saudi artist, did you feel like there was more international recognition of your career than there was local at the beginning?
I think it was more to the socio-political art and cultural scene at that time. There was a big focus from international art scene about the Arab world and the Middle East and Gulf region. For many reasons, there was big changing that happening in museum, architect, promising project. So that was the first things. And this exhibition was about, it's called World into Art, using calligraphy, using Islamic art in that side. I think that's why it was the chance for me. Of course, this things was a sign for, but in reality, when I ask myself, there was many things I really doesn't want to forget that really changed my life, which is the practice, working a lot and hard, meeting a lot of interesting people that make me really focus and think the art is like or my destiny at that time. But if you like, was a spark that to be embraced. It's a big move for me, but it gives, confidence. Confidence is important for artists.
Yeah. I'd like to come back now to a question I posed before, which was, do you feel that there is a Saudi style or a Saudi art scene that is happening at the moment, in terms of that there's been such a movement or a push towards the arts within the last decade? Do you feel like there's a particular style which has emerged, which is a Saudi style?
I think it will be created. What is important, because art is a language which is beyond all of the barriers and beyond all of the borders. And that's the beauty of art. But of course, there is identity. And when I see a lot, sometimes I learn from some of Ministry of Culture when they announce about finding old Neolithic heritage or places or something. This is big influence for artists because it's give us a lot of inspiration for producing a new artwork that based on what happening or what they find. For example, I sometimes I follow all of the accounts of for example, Al-Ula, for example, of Ministry of Culture, and see, wow, there is a finding of drawing on the stone in Taima or in Al-Ula or south or north or in every east or west. So all of these small things is a big intangible resources and knowledge for art and culture. And this may be, and I think in future it will shape these practices. It still need time to be a style, but the most important things now is the energetic. It's really energetic scene, and anyone visits Saudi Arabia, he feel this kind of positiveness and energetic movement that everywhere within the youth.
Yeah. I really like you bringing up this point of the of heritage as a reference for the art scene as it is at the moment, because I think Saudi at this point in time, more than perhaps anywhere else in the world that I know, has a real strong reference to heritage within the contemporary art scene, and that the young people reference it a lot. And within Miss Gard Institute, we have got a lot of residency programs, and it is a topic that comes up quite a lot with our Saudi residents, you know, and a lot of research is often around heritage as a reference point. And it's something which I really enjoy seeing in Saudi, you know, even getting on the plane with the Saudi Airlines masks, you know, there's a exactly. So you've got a design point, which is even a reference for something as basic as a face mask.
I think that's really a nice definition for engagement of art. This is a contemporary art. When you see art fly with us, art became part of our life. Art is not anymore isolation and icon. It's not icon anymore. Art crossed the frame and became part of our lifestyle, urbanism, architect, quality of life. This is the dream of art. And of course, it will come more and more. And I see it I'm not talking about Saudi Arabia, but everywhere this movement is really important in our time now. So art really became engaged in all of these things. Heritage is a big resource, big knowledge, and we can dig on it and more discovery, and imagine by an eye of artist how much he can tell and feel and explore. So it's really interesting, and this is really an idea, and maybe it will become the style of this region.
Yeah. I would like to open up the conversation to any attendees. If you would like to ask any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will endeavor to answer as many of them as we can. I was wondering how you feel about the contemporary art scene currently as it has moved into the digital realm. So there's been a big push for more digital art and for more works on the internet. And we have seen even more galleries specializing in digital art opening up. You as a practicing artist, and you as a mentor, and you as somebody who's been really an active member of the scene, what's your take on it?
Yeah, this is very important question, and from my side as an artist, and even if I am an educator, I am in a continuous learning process from everywhere around me, and that's art is a continuous education and learning. Digital art will become a future, and it's really becoming now future. We hear about all of this stories around us using digital art. Why not? Yes, digital can be a platform, and it will be very powerful platform. It's reach everyone easily, and you can send your message, your statement, your identity, your life, your representative piece of art or culture or what you want to say through digital media. Now everyone heard about NFT, and it became, look, after bitcoins, the bitcoins, they choose art as a token, so it's, they must save these things for identity and the token. I know the people of bitcoins will be not happy because it's, I heard it's down these days, but but it's kind of platform, and I think all of us, we are really I do a lot of digital art, and I love to improve, and I really watch and follow the young generation who I learn from also, and the new art that they made.
So are we likely to be seeing a new digital exhibition of yours in the future?
I do a lot of using digital methods, and there is a lot of idea coming. I did one artwork last year, which is infinity generative of one art piece that I collaborate with Bawa Gallery and artist from Qatar. She made the token and helped us in the programming. The gallery Bawa from Kuwait, he do the exhibition, and it was very nice. People receive it very well.
Mm. But for you, is it something that you see as an ongoing practice?
Very important. We have to follow. Yeah, art is usually frontier. It's in the front, and we have to keep this. Yeah.
I'd like to talk about your studio just a little bit more in detail, because for any of our attendees who have not made it to Riyadh and to Dr. Ahmad Mater's studio, it is actually quite an experience. You have managed to bring up some incredible machinery together in your studio. Could you talk to us a little bit about the what you have collected in your studio?
Okay. Let me start with this by talking and finish talking about digital art. I still also believe by using my hand.
Yeah.
Which is work together. It's sensory. We live with our sensory. Using the printing of lithograph, there is a machine of lithograph, there is etching press, there is an old letter press, using Arabic language and another language as well, using the old lab on the photography, but same time there is a digital printer here, and there is all of this. Art creation is not about medium. Art creation is about idea, and what help your idea, just follow, no worry. But sometimes I really like to use my hand in writing. I like to use my hand in drawing. Of course, I use computer and drawing. I use all of the programs, but still using your hand is very important. It's a spiritual feeling. It's give a lot of healing for us, and it gives us more confidence. And this is also, I would love to mention this, why we are here, about education, especially in the children and in younger ages. Using hand is very important practice, because easy to draw and use iPad or any tablet, but using hand and drawing and things will create a lot of skills. It's also, we have to educate ourselves as well. So all of this is I think it's now beautiful to be in between or work with all of them together.
Mm. I've got a couple of questions that have come in from our viewers. The first one's from an anonymous attendee who is asking the question, how can we visit the studio in Riyadh?
We can arrange it. The studio is usually opening in the morning time and easy to arrange with us, you know, like if anyone want to read or want to ask or want to use the photography lab. There is a lot of artists using this. There is some artists in resident, not too much, one or two, but their way of residency that we did is not is like saying it's like working inside the studio. So there is a way to arrange it, and anyone can contact us through me or my friend Mahmoud, who everyone know here in the studio.
It's best to contact you via email?
Yes, by email, and will be soon, by the end of the year, there will be more a special website for, but now we can, yeah.
Another question which has come in from Lamis Abdo. What is your perspective on artist collaboration in one work? Does it add or subtract from the value of the artwork?
Depending on that type of collaboration and the result, it's very relative to what the result will be. Sometimes an artist who really good in science and another artist who really great in research and finding the concept, it could work. Sometimes two artists who can travel and come with the idea of photography to it's started with the concept and the curating subject that can create. Why not? If there is an idea that will come from collaborative between two artists to come with the amazing artwork, why not? Now art is more about collaborative effort. Of course, it can be better. Performance artists, depending on this, it's build the trust between the choreographer, for example, as an idea, or maybe sometime art publication. Art book became a very famous art medium, and I think collaborative is something that can create amazing result and artworks as well.
Another question, this one has come in from Haya. As an artist, what challenges do you feel need to be addressed within arts management that will elevate the art scene?
There is, from time to time, those challenges happening. Artists usually will say, I have a challenge, I need this or I need this. I learned this from long.
I think we've run into some technical difficulties. If you're viewing right now and you're able to hear and see me, could you just drop a little note in the chat? Because I think that we have run into some tech trouble.
I really was looking for
Sorry, Ahmed, you dropped out for a moment there, but we're back. All good.
Yeah. So I think artists can, it's more, usually I say that it's much interesting to live and with all of those challenging that shape our life and our culture and our creativity rather than have a ready-made art scene. So it's a part of our life, challenging. We all facing those challenging and we change it. So the most important thing is the journey itself.
Do you feel like currently within Saudi, though, that there's a push for there to be a ready-made art scene, in the sense that we have had the biennial, we have got many new arts events that are happening, say the Desert X in Alula, or you've got these big exhibitions like 2139 over in Jeddah, that there's already such a push for this art scene to happen, and then there's sort of a backfilling or retrofitting of job positions in managing of the arts. Do you feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there at this point in time?
It's really important to be now all of those movement within all of this Binali Misk Art Week, what happening in Jeddah. Islamic Art Binali now is very important as well, coming soon, and there is here and there you cannot sometimes follow what happening, which is amazing, because artists need more platforms, more places, more engagement. Society will find themselves more connected to art. In the same time, there is a growing educational system for art, which is really amazing. This is very interesting, and I can see it will help more and more bright future for art and culture.
I've got a question that's come in here from Zaina. Do you offer specialized workshops in printmaking at your studio?
Sorry?
Do you offer specialized workshops in printmaking at your studio?
Yeah, there is an idea now which we will work soon to. We did some short, and it was experimental in the beginning, and now we have a lot of facilities that really will allow us to do those classes, and maybe we are now looking for a good trainer as well with me to be academic. Look, we need the side of academic as well to be within the practices of artists. So I see this two side with academic and with the practices. Artists will create very, very nice and informative workshops.
Definitely. Well, you must let me know if you do any workshops in lithography, because it's
of course,
not
yeah. As soon as we can be together and on the lithograph, we'll announce it, and I will contact you directly. Of course, you have to come from UK.
Yeah, it's not always so easy to find lithographic stones. So
it's a beautiful old technique, but it's still like one of the most beautiful results on the when I see it in the paper.
Exactly. As somebody who has got such an immense studio at Jax, and for those of you who have not managed to make it to the Jax district in Diriyah, it is a growing area of warehouses which have been retrofitted for artist studios. As someone who's sort of a pioneer in that space and with such an immense studio, do you also feel it comes with a pressure to have your studio open, or to have to be a model?
There is there is no one will be the role model. Usually there is variety and diversity of practices, and that's what I think it's important in Jax. There is now many studio in Jax. Sometimes I go to the other studio here and I learn something new, or I ask for, or I sometimes ask them if do you have book about this or that, or do you have some paint that I can take from you and bring back to you later. So it's nice. It's a neighbor. It's a society. But many studios now will open. I hear that's in the next this year they will be full of active spaces. But also maybe the idea of Jax can be imported to many other cities and spaces to be a cultural center. This is, I think, what could be very interesting in the future.
I mean, for somebody who's not from Saudi, coming to Saudi and seeing the government take such a strong stance at giving space to artists, it's quite overwhelming in the most positive way. It's
I think engagement with the creative art scene is really amazing, and really we now feel it. It's more easy, more practice. We give. I for myself, I give all of my day here in the studio, and it's like a paradise for artists to be in a place like that.
I have a question that's come in now from Tala Qari. Have you ever organized any group crits between artists as a way of developing practice?
Critical art scene is one of the most important subject. And yes, we sometimes sit in a small groups and we criticize the production, material, artist concept. Sometimes I take my concept, and before I go to submit, I ask my friends, or before I release the artwork. It doesn't need to be sometimes to submit, but sometimes I have an idea and I wrote concept. I go to my neighbor here, Nawaf, artist, just my neighbor here, or Saeed Gamhawi, or Hamoud, or Diya Yusuf, and I so please, can you read this? What do you think? If you read this, what do you expect from my artwork? If I use this material? Yes, very important. And we have to accept criticism as an artist, because this will make us in more, dignity and more precise, to go through a result.
Do you feel culturally that there's space for criticism in the arts?
Of course. It's still an energetic art scene, very, very creative. But yes, of course, now with the growing of education on the on the art scene, I'm sure the criticism will be a big part. And without criticism, development will be more slow, especially in art. Art based on that, and art critique is really a big part of ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, even between artists themselves, they should be more bright, more transparent, and together. And like I like sometimes the art self-curated artist exhibition. Sometimes in the young artist movement, and sometimes it's really, really beautiful because they learn, they listen to the critique and things.
Yeah. I wonder whether there is space in Saudi coming up for there to be even, as we talked about before, sort of arts managers, but also space for art critics, for us also to start talking more, more about the exhibitions which are on display within Saudi. Do you feel like the time has come for that, or are we still a few years off that?
I think during the education, growing education, that will be a very amazing critical art scene will grow. But there is a lot of writer and critical writer and academic now in Saudi Arabia. They are really good, but maybe we need more. But because they more be engaged with a lot of exhibition, but there is a good names now, and writing and following and a lot of a study I read about art in Saudi Arabia now and everywhere. It's really good. It's really you can see there is some critical art scene of some writer, especially in Arabic newspaper. That's really good.
And it's also really important, I think, for there to be more Arabic voices in terms of the written text around the art scene.
This is really important, and using the Arabic references and the background, also it will give more diversity and also identity to the artwork. And that's what interests to be a global voice. Then the other people will love to see something different, and that's all about culture.
Ahmed, we've got time for just one last question. This one is coming from Michelle. The importance of artist collectives versus individual artists. What do you see as the importance of those two?
I'm more within a collective. Collectives will create the engagement more and more interesting time. Of course, individual is also something that proved during the history that artists do in the practice, but collective is important. And usually when I see a collective show, I usually try to see it because it's give another perspective. And sometimes it's create a beautiful stories and history for the but I think let's say it's a part of the ecosystem, individual to collective to institutional to public body to museums. All of this is really, really interesting. And collective, let's say collectives is important part of our ecosystem in building this future for art and culture.
Amazing. This is all we have time for this talk. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you also to all of our viewers tonight. If you have got an opportunity to share this with your friends, feel free to share this. It'll be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube. This is our last virtual talk in this series. We hope to make it back for the year of 2023. Ahmad Mater, thank you again.
So much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.